Save the Bill. Episode 2. The Sharks That Seize Our Homes.
Heat.
Can you let us have the baby?
War.
There are things, I think, in this bill that do improve the lot of existing leaseholders, but how can we make it even better?
So there are a number of quick wins that we can do. One of them is to get rid of forfeiture, because that allows these freeholder overlords to extort money from ordinary people. And it's not like mortgage foreclosure, where if you can't keep up with the mortgage payments, you get the difference back, less the debt. With forfeiture, in theory, a freeholder could take back a £500,000 flat on a £5,000 bill. Now, what the freeholder lobby will say when they come on later is that, there's only about 80 to 90 cases a year. That's 80 to 90 potential homeless families a year, but more important in a way is that it's a threat of forfeiture that gets leaseholders to, oh my God, I'm going to pay that bill. But the point is, it doesn't give leaseholders confidence to challenge unreasonable bills with the sword of Damocles hanging over your head, that you're being treated like a criminal almost. The case of Louis Chadwick, his wife Danny, and their little son Ted is the worst we've come across while researching this series on forfeiture. It shows what can happen when a freeholder takes things beyond threatening letters. Nicholas spoke to him as he battled to save the flat his wife bought in Croydon 6 years ago.
We found the flat. It was on first inspection very, very nice, converted house into 5 flats. And the idea was to have something that gave her some independent security. We had a look at what the service charges were, because at the time I didn't own a property in the UK, and we compared it to what my brother was paying at his place, and we thought, okay, that seems about right.
Okay, and then what happened next, and how did this all go so wrong, and what sort of bills are you looking at now?
We started off something around 2003, 2004 as an estimate, and very quickly ended up at 4,500 in a period of a couple of years. And that's escalated up to this year being around 7,000, I think 7,500 per leaseholder at the moment.
To remind ourselves, this property is just a large family house, carved into 5 tiny flats. There's a couple of hedges to clip, gutters and drains to keep clear, buildings insurance, and maybe a roof repair or a paint job every 5 years or so. Inside, the only common spaces are a front hall and a set of stairs. In what world does maintaining that lot cost nearly £40,000 a year?
So we started to question, and they didn't really provide adequately any answers. And nothing that was verifiable. We couldn't get access to invoices, we couldn't get access to works, we couldn't get copies of terms and conditions. It was not fair, it was not reasonable, it was not demanded in accordance with what the lease said. The lease said we should be paying quarterly, and they were demanding an upfront payment of an extortionate amount. That didn't even match what the lease said. And then going on, we actually saw that when I gathered everybody's leases together, they didn't equal 100%, they equaled 106%. It's just the value of the flat doesn't marry the value of the service charge and the age of the building, and comparing other buildings of the same type. It no longer made sense.
Under Section 27A of the 1985 Landlord Tenant Act, leaseholders can ask a first-tier tribunal to decide whether service charges are reasonable. So that's what he did. The problems that followed are depressingly typical.
We were doing as we were told by the FTT. It wasn't like we were making it up as we go along. If they said, get it in on this date, we got it in on that date. And we got all the other 4 leaseholders, so 5 of us together. And we were complying. Our management agent were not complying. They were late with everything. They were asking for extensions. They were threatened with being expelled from the FTT process, which they managed to get round somehow, and they kept them in.
Pursuing a claim at the FTT was already tough with the couple working abroad. But then things got a whole lot worse when this letter came for Danny from her bank.
So, Louis, can you just tell me a bit more about the CCJ and what you did next?
Initially, not really knowing what the impact of a CCJ was, having never really had anything to do with the court system before, with a few Google searches and things, we realised that it was going to contribute to destroying our credit rating, or my partner's credit rating. We were shocked. I mean, we have never missed a bill. We've never been in trouble with the law. We've never had any sort of penalty brought against us for anything we've done in our lives. And to receive a CCJ, which had already been awarded without us knowing about it, without any right of appeal, to give any, just felt wrong. It was like you're actually just trying to intimidate us into paying this bill, and therefore backing that up with a threat to our mortgage provider, requesting them to give them the money.
The onslaught from the freeholder didn't stop there. There were more letters outlining breaches of the lease and threatening forfeiture. By now, Danny was heavily pregnant. At this point, Danny was so desperate that she emailed her bank about the County Court Judgment, or CCJ, and all the other threats that her freeholder solicitors were making. Her and Louis have kindly shared some correspondence with us. One of the emails, Danny writes, the effects of their emails was contractions at midnight, and 2 days later, my waters broke, and I had a premature seizure, and my baby was born. I'm still in a hospital, as there are complications with my baby due to the early birth. I've asked them to leave me in peace, as they have been harassing me throughout the whole pregnancy. Danny was lucky. The email was received by a relationship manager at the bank who had also had an experience of a premature birth. She came back almost immediately, saying, I would like to reassure you that the bank will not pay any outstanding arrears to the company while there is the ongoing dispute. We wanted to let you know so you have peace of mind. Pat on the back for NatWest. Most lenders only care about the security of their loan. To stop a forfeiture, they go in right away and settle the debt. But they put that debt on the leaseholder's mortgage. And they also dump the freeholder's legal costs on the leaseholder's mortgage with the bank's own legal and professional fees.
In the meantime of all of this going on, we've had a baby that was born prematurely by 3 weeks, and then he's gone on to develop a serious neuromuscular condition called SMA type 1. So we've not been able to leave our or even dedicate too much time at the moment to fight this, and it's going on a bit in the background because his care has taken over the large portion of our life. My partner, she's in Bulgaria now. I haven't seen her or the baby for 6 weeks. I'm battling on this on her behalf. We were having to send cease and desist letters to sort of say, leave us alone, let us have our baby, please, let us have the baby first. I don't expect people to go our way with it, but enough's enough in our circumstances. We've had such a such a terrible year. We've had such a terrible year that these people can't do any worse than what fate has given us at the moment. So, I don't mean to be bullish about it, but we will let the courts and the system decide, and we will appeal, and we will keep appealing. If it doesn't go our way, we'll keep appealing until our appeals are run out. And we have set aside the fact we may lose the house.
Louis, thank you so much for sharing your story with me today. It rings home with me so much. It's more or less exactly what I'm going through as well. Generally speaking, it's always advisable to pay your service charge and challenge later, but I understand how hard that is, knowing that you're never going to see that money again. Although I have now felt bullied into paying that money because the thought of going through what you're going through with the CCJ is just something I just mentally couldn't deal with over the next sort of year. But thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. Is there anything else you want to add towards the end? Anything you want to say to everybody else?
Well, thank you, Nicola. Thanks for taking the time to listen to the story. My concern is that the weight of argument in our favour is not being noticed by the people it should be noticed by the government, by the court system, people just trying to get ahead and own a home. And I am concerned that the government are allowing helping people buy a home. So there's new schemes, and I don't know all of them, but if you're a first-time buyer, and you're just feeding more lambs to the slaughter. So you've got a young family who are starting out after university, and you say, oh, you can buy that house there, and we'll help you. Yeah, great. And they're going, oh, yeah, we got a house, not knowing for the next 35 years that they've got a mortgage on the place, they've got to pay whatever service charge the management company decides is fair. So you're just feeding more people into the system. It's ridiculous.
Louis and Danny were back in the county court in April, trying to overturn that CCJ. We'll be following their story and bringing it to you when it's ready. But in the meantime, back to the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Bill. This is a piece of legislation that ministers have been out talking up on the airwaves, saying that it's the biggest reform to leasehold in a generation. And yet, that bill does nothing to deal with a mechanism so extreme, so abusive, that even the freeholder lobby are not defending it. There is no moral or economic rationale for having this still on our statute books. The fact that you can lose a £350,000 flat on a bill is trivial. It's £350, and the freeholder pockets the difference is obscene. It should have no place in any society in the world, and yet it does here in England and Wales. But these MPs They're supposed to work for us. What have they been up to? What skullduggery has been taking place here? Well, we've been investigating. In our final video of this Forfeiture mini-series, we will be giving you the inside scoop. Stay tuned. If you're affected by the issues in this video, seek urgent legal advice. But if you can't pay for a lawyer, you can book a 15-minute freebie call with the government's leasehold advisory service on 020 7832 2500.
Law.